right now on the 10 o'clock news.
The NYPD releasing photos of the man they believe is behind the horrific sexual assault of a teenage girl at Casino Park, and things get heated outside the Rent Guidelines Board meeting. Police making multiple arrests as the board votes yes on raising rents for stabilized apartments. But first, blistering hot weather engulfing the Northeast, the heat wave expected to bring dangerous conditions, the likes of which New York has not experienced in several years. Good evening. Thanks for being with us. I'm Steve Lacey. Natasha has the night off. Temperatures set to soar 20 degrees above what we normally see this time of year. Let's get straight to meteorologist Nick Gregory with a look at how long it's going to last. And Nick, this one's going to stick around for a bit.
Yeah, once it starts tomorrow, Steve, it's going to be around right into the upcoming weekend. And yes, the average high is about 80 degrees. We'll be in the 90s the next couple of days. And again, talk about heat wave statistics. So it really takes 3 consecutive days where the temperature has to reach 90 or above. The last time that happened was last September, between the 5th and the 8th. The last June heat wave was in 2021, and the longest heat wave, I should say, lasted 12 days. That was back in 1953, August 24th to September 4th. We won't go 12 days, but we may go 5 days. And why do we say this? Look at the temperatures off to the west here, into the 90s. Williamsport westward towards Cleveland, Detroit, mid-90s down to Columbus and Charleston, West Virginia, low 90s down to Washington, D.C. Closer to home, the only 90 we had today was close by was at Newark, 92. It did hit 90 in Scranton. Upper 80s in the Hudson Valley to North Jersey, low 80s in town. It stayed in the 70s along the coast, and that'll be the case next couple of days. Look at our futurecast temperatures overnight, pretty much stopping in the low 70s in the city, some upper 60s north and west. And this computer model is probably taking in more account of a southerly wind because it only has the city at 85 tomorrow. I think we're going over 90, and it's mid-90s, I think, interior spots. It definitely will be cooler at the coast, closer to 80 there. Same deal starting out Wednesday. Upper 60s to low 70s, and then we'll get back into the low to mid 90s again from the city on westward. 92 at White Plains on Wednesday, mid 90s Hudson Valley, again closer to 80. It looks like, I'm thinking, as you get along the coast. We do have a excessive heat watch. That's for most of New Jersey. That's going to go right through Saturday, give you an idea how long this is going to last. And right now, the heat advisory does not include New York City, Long Island, and Connecticut. That's probably a good call, but I'm pretty certain that the heat advisory will be extended to New York City as we go through the week. Steve?
Well, all right, thanks, Nick. With the heat headed our way, city officials asking people to prepare to cool off, saying the conditions can be life-threatening, especially for older adults, young children, and those with pre-existing health conditions. Having a working air conditioner, one of the best ways to stay safe. A fan is simply not enough. If you don't have an air conditioner, cooling centers open citywide tomorrow. Officials also suggest going to cool places like museums, coffee shops, or libraries, and to be aware of signs of heat-related illnesses like heat stroke.
Call 911 if you or someone you know displays the following signs: hot, dry skin or cold, clammy skin, confusion or disorientation, nausea and vomiting, any trouble breathing, rapid heartbeat, weakness or dizziness.
New York City's Emergency Management Department says more than 350 New Yorkers die every year because of the heat. And you can track the week's hot temperatures by downloading the free Fox 5 NY weather app. While the cost to live in rent-stabilized apartments is going up, the Rent Guidelines Board voting to hike rents more than 5% on 2-year leases starting this fall. Fox 5 Stephanie Bertini joins us live on the Upper East Side. And how are landlords and tenants reacting tonight, Stephanie?
Steve, a lot of emotions tonight. According to the NYPD, several people were arrested for disorderly conduct. We watched some of those arrests as the vote happened inside Hunter College.
Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, now.
Tensions high inside Hunter College's Assembly Hall, where New York City's Rent Guidelines Board met for a final vote on rent increases on rent-stabilized apartment units. The final decision up to a 2.75% increase on a 1-year lease and 5.25% on a 2-year lease. Renters and their advocates outraged.
It's so hard because everything keeps on going. Look, the supermarkets, when we go there, a barrel of oil, I mean a can of oil, it was like $6 or $7. Now we got to pay up to $21.
Before and after the meeting, protests outside Hunter College, the NYPD confirming several people were arrested.
Since you have refused to disperse, you will be placed under arrest.
The outrage comes down to financial struggle, says Adan Soltran, a tenant representative on the Rent Guidelines Board, who is disappointed with the increases.
This is my third year now serving on the board, and what I've seen is that each year in again and year out, it seems like the goalposts shift a bit, right? Because every time we're looking at the data, we're making the arguments, we're trying to explain to folks about how it is not something that you can equate the suffering of a landlord's business and the suffering of a human being who, you know, they have mouths to feed.
These increases are the income that buildings need for upkeep.
Policy analyst for the Rent Stabilization Association, Kelly Farrell, says owners need more increases.
We appreciate that the board looked at data and tried to come up with a fair increase. It's not enough.
While many are infuriated,
these real estate people are so hungry.
The decision to increase rent on stabilized units is done. Currently, an estimated 1 million New Yorkers are in rent-stabilized apartments. Now, these hikes go into effect October 1st. We heard from the mayor tonight. He said the only way the rents will go down is if more housing is built, saying the city's working on that. Steve?
Thanks, Stephanie. Parkgoers remain on edge tonight as police continue the search for the suspect who sexually assaulted a teenager at Casino Park in Queens. Community members calling for more safety precautions, including installing security cameras in city green spaces. Fox 5's Linda Schmidt joins us live from Flushing, Queens, and police just released photos of the man they're looking for. Linda.
Yeah, good evening to you there, Steve. And those pictures you're talking about, the NYPD just released a short time ago, they are extremely clear. You can tell exactly who this person is. So somebody out there knows this guy, and there is still a $10,000 reward.
Sophia is the mother of a 2-year-old daughter. She has always enjoyed walking in Casino Park in Flushing, Queens, but now has a heavy heart and is on edge after a 13-year-old girl was raped last week.
I think that I don't want to think about it. You know, only 13 years old. I'm very scared now.
The NYPD releasing these clear photos of the suspect that police obtained from surveillance cameras somewhere outside the park. They show the suspect riding a bicycle. They are hoping a $10,000 reward will jog someone's memory and motivate them to call police and identify who and where the suspect is located. A manhunt has been underway since the sexual assault last Thursday. A massive police presence remains at Casino Park, along with posters, including a sketch of a tattoo the suspect has on his chest of what appears to be a boar.
My heart bleeds because I am the father of 2 young ladies, a 14-year-old girl and a 9-year-old girl.
Several Republican candidates for state offices holding a rally in Casino Park, calling for stricter laws and more security cameras in parks and around the city.
We can install more security cameras and use technology to help catch perps.
The NYPD telling Fox 5 that several cameras have now been permanently installed inside and outside Casino Park.
Now, most of the parks here in the city do not have cameras inside. Well, I reached out to the City Parks Department tonight and late this afternoon to ask them why. Why is that the case? But so far, Steve, I have not been able to get an answer. Back inside to you.
Very well. All right. Thanks, Linda. Well, the man known as Brooklyn's Bling Bishop was sentenced to 90 years in prison today. Lamore Whitehead convicted earlier this year on several charges, including wire fraud, attempted extortion, and making false statements to federal law enforcement. Prosecutors say he stole millions of dollars in a string of financial frauds and even stole from one of his own parishioners. He was also ordered to pay $85,000 in restitution and forfeit another $95,000. Well, one man's dead, another injured after a stabbing on Staten Island. It happened around 3:45 this afternoon on Broad Street in the Stapleton section. Sky Fox over the scene. Police say the 41-year-old victim was stabbed in the chest and was pronounced dead at Staten Island Hospital. The other man was stabbed in the leg and will be okay. It's unclear what led up to the attack, and so far, no arrests. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has dissolved his war cabinet. That move today widely expected after his chief political rival Benny Gantz withdrew from the 3-member group. Major war policies will now be solely approved by Netanyahu's security cabinet. It is a larger body that's dominated by hardliners who oppose the U.S.-backed ceasefire proposal and want to press ahead with the war in Gaza. A Secret Service agent, the victim of an armed robbery. Officials in Tustin, California, which is in Orange County, say last Saturday night the agent's bag was stolen at gunpoint. During the incident, the agent used his weapon, but the suspect got away in a vehicle similar to the one you see here. It's unclear if the suspect was injured. The agent was not, and so far, no arrest. Well, drivers about to start paying up if they block bus stops. How the MTA is planning to automatically hand out tickets. And the nation's top doctor wants tobacco-style warning labels on social media apps. Why he says Congress must act to protect children. And a Porsche falling off the top of a parking garage. And that wasn't the strangest thing found by cops. Why what they found on top of the wreckage has everyone scratching their heads. Drivers who block bus stops will soon be forced to pay up. The MTA installing cameras that will automatically issue tickets. Fox 5's Kendall Green joins us live in studio with more on how it's all going to work. Kendall.
Hey, good evening, Steve. More than 600 buses will deploy the newer cameras that can capture wider angles, which include more lanes. So drivers illegally double parked across the city can expect a ticket in no time. This grandmother and her grandsons, after a few bus trips every day, know what makes a ride go smoothly.
The bus being nice and quiet and stuff.
Okay. What about you?
And going fast.
And when vehicles like this are double parked holding up bus lanes, that's when that smooth bus ride turns into a slow drag. A pretty common complaint among commuters.
Often, almost every day, and it causes delays.
Well, the MTA's Automated Camera Enforcement Program, ACE for short, expands this week. It allows more than 600 buses through their cameras to issue tickets to vehicles that are illegally blocking a bus lane, parked at a bus stop, or double parked along more than a dozen routes across the city so far.
It also targets those outside of the bus lanes.
The newer cameras can capture wider angles and include more lanes, which could clear congestion for bikers like Ting, who sometimes have their lanes cluttered with double parked cars as well.
Typically, I think drivers rather double park on the street side rather than the bike lane side, but I think it should be enforced for sure.
ACE is a modified version of a program that started back in 2019, where the MTA says accidents and emissions both significantly dropped.
The number of accidents between a bus and other vehicles is down 20% at locations where there are enforcement. Now, if that doesn't say that we should be doing this, there's really not another target.
After that first ticket, they say most tend to get the message, as just 8% of violators received 3 or more tickets, and only about 1 in 5 people received a second ticket.
They should, and I think people will stop.
Hey, man, that's karma. They deserve it. Shouldn't be parking in the bus lane. Brilliant. Yeah, why not?
Now, the MTA plans to expand the program to more than 1,000 buses and 30 routes by the end of the year. Tickets, by the way, start at $50 and can climb up to $250, Steve.
Well, all right, thanks, Kendall. Well, the NYPD looking for suspects after a deadly triple shooting in Inwood last night. 2 people killed and a third injured after shots were fired at 10th Ave and West 206th Street just before midnight. The NYPD says a 44-year-old man was shot in the face. He died at Harlem Hospital. The second victim was 40 years old. He died after being shot in the chest.
Very concerned about safety. People don't want to go outside anymore. It's really bad for business.
I believe that it's getting out of hand. The amount of violence that is surging in this neighborhood is like going back to the 80s when I was a little girl growing up in this neighborhood.
The third victim, who's 37 years old, was shot in the leg and is recovering at home tonight. Well, a Porsche was found smashed and upside down after plunging off the top of a parking garage. The crushed car was found yesterday just before noon in the Kingsbridge section of the Bronx. That car went through a concrete wall before smashing into the ground. Nobody was in the car when police arrived, but check this out. They say they found a cell phone and a wad of cash on top of the wreckage. No one was hurt, and no word on whose car that was. Well, the U.S. Secretary of Education announces the results of an investigation into campus protests at the City University of New York. Those protests erupted in response to the Israel-Hamas war. The probe found that the university system did not adequately investigate whether the demonstrations created a hostile environment for students, faculty, and staff. Some of the harassment complaints that prompted the review dated back to the 2019-2020 academic year. The school has pledged to increase training and review its discrimination policies. In Maryland, Governor Wes Moore has issued pardons for more than 175,000 marijuana convictions. That move will forgive low-level possession and some paraphernalia charges for around 100,000 people. The Democratic governor says it's an opportunity to right a lot of historical wrongs.
Black Marylanders were 3 times more likely to be arrested for cannabis than white Marylanders before legalization. Undoing decades of harm cannot happen in a day. But we're going to keep up the work. We're going to keep up the pace. We're going to do it together.
In 2023, Maryland legalized recreational cannabis. Well, a Yonkers police sergeant's been indicted for assaulting a man during an arrest. Officials released this body cam footage of the arrest. Prosecutors say back in March, 55-year-old Hector Cartagena kicked and punched the suspect in the face while trying to restrain him after a high-speed chase involving a reported stolen vehicle. The suspect, who's also facing charges, including grand larceny and assault, was treated for broken eye socket bones. The U.S. Surgeon General calling for a change to social media. He wants Congress to require a tobacco-like warning label on platforms due to the mental health crisis among young people. Fox O&O's Sharon Crowley details exactly what it would take to make this happen.
How much time do you spend on social media every day?
I don't know, like 5 or more hours.
5 hours
or more.
5 hours. It's a little too much, but I have nothing else to do, so that's what I do.
Teens and tweens spend so much time on social media, it's caught the attention of the U.S. Surgeon General. Dr. Vivek Murthy is now calling on Congress to require warning labels to be added to social media platforms, similar to the ones used on tobacco products. Dr. Murthy wrote in an article in the New York Times that social media is a contributing factor to mental illness seen in young people. He says the warning label would, quote, regularly remind parents and adolescents that social media has not been proved safe.
The Surgeon General is absolutely right to recommend a warning label for social media platforms. Our youth are glued to their screens.
Julie Scelfo is the founder and executive director of Mothers Against Media Addiction. The group pushes schools to encourage students to reduce screen time.
The most important thing is that the children grow up in a world that is primarily based in real life interactions and experiences.
Pew Research Center data from 2022 shows social media is used by 95% of young people from the age of 13 to 17. More than a third of those surveyed say they use social media almost constantly.
Children are so impacted by how many likes they get.
Nava Silton is a child psychologist.
For kids to have unlimited use of social media apps on their own devices, that can be highly detrimental.
U.S. Surgeon General says he knows just a warning label won't make social media apps safe, but he says it's a step in the right direction to getting kids out of the virtual world and into the real one. And the Surgeon General also saying that policymakers really need to address the harms that social media use is causing among children, much the way they do when they study car seats and baby formula. Sharon Crowley, Fox 5 News.
Well, the Yankees celebrating the people making a positive impact on the community. We're going to introduce you to a former trash collector turned Harvard Law School grad. Today's the start of Yankees Hope Week. The annual event honors community members who are inspirations for others. Fox 5's Tina Cervasio brings us the story of a former trash collector turned city attorney.
We decided to embark on a theme, and the theme was finding the good in social media.
The Yankees Hope Week initiative honors people or groups who exemplify helping others persevere and excel. On Monday, Rayhan Staten was recognized by players Garrett Cole, Giancarlo Stanton, Clark Schmidt, John Birdie, and Nick Birdie.
It's so incredible to see these stories and just be a part of it.
Staten is a former trash collector who eventually graduated from Harvard Law School. He is now a New York City attorney. A video of Rayhan's reaction to his acceptance to Harvard went viral.
Congratulations! I'm just grateful, and I guess that's the best thing that I could say. I never thought I'd be here, and then I'm just grateful to be a part of it.
Staten then created the reciprocity effect to recognize support staff like sanitation workers where he used to work, cafeteria and janitorial workers he met at Harvard Law.
I never looked at it as charity. I looked at it as people are already putting into our community, and this is us just reciprocating it back to them. After our first award ceremony, it was in 2023, I remember one woman came up to me and said, my son was truly proud of me, and I never seen him look at me that way before.
How does it also impact the way you look at all the behind-the-scene workers here around Yankee Stadium?
It really doesn't get enough attention. I mean, you know, when we're leaving the game, all of a sudden people just start filling in between the seats and picking up the trash and making it beautiful for the next day.
To kind of shine light on areas that don't really, you know, get a lot of light, I think it speaks to his character.
The Yankees also presented a $10,000 check to the Reciprocity Effect that Rayhan Staten says he wants to use to simply continue honoring those support staff workers and letting them know they're appreciated and they are seen. After this week's Hope Week, the Yankees would have donated over $1 million to worthy causes for those that continue to contribute to the community. At Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, Tina Cervasio, Fox 5 News.
Get into these games, and there's a lot of defense out there right now. You see defense can go out there and play with a lot of energy, but someone's got to get the ball down the field. Nice play. You'd love to see him come down with that one, give his offense a little bit of a spark.
Brings up third down. Now we got a third down.
All right, that's a man who needs no introduction, but he does have a new title. NFL on Fox lead football analyst Tom Brady making his Fox Sports debut alongside Good Day New York's own Kurt Menefee and Joel Klatt during the UFL championship game between Birmingham and San Antonio. Brady giving us a taste of what to expect this fall when he joins Kevin Burkhardt in the A-Crew booth for all the top NFL games here on Fox. Rookie NYPD officers making a shocking discovery inside a small bag.
I tried my best to open up the top of the bag, and this tiny little snout came through the top of the bag.
All right, look at that, how they were able to save 6 dogs with the help of a local store employee, plus the emotional sentencing hearing on Long Island as 2 children come face to face with the drunk driver responsible for the deaths of both their parents.
You're watching the 10 o'clock news.
Caught on camera, police find 6 puppies stuffed inside of this sack of a push cart. The NYPD says the dogs were overheated and dehydrated. The woman carrying them around now faces a bunch of charges. Fox 5's Teresa Priolo talked with the rookie cops who came to their rescue.
Please help. Okay, we got it. For another box for another indicator.
5 puppies helped in the nick of time, saved before they suffocated to death inside of a pink backpack on Beach Channel Drive in Far Rockaway.
I think that one needs water.
The pit bull puppies piled one on top of each other, gasping for air and desperate for water.
She came out and another individual stopped her. She asked her, she said, "What a nice dog, what a cute puppy. What are you doing with it?" And she said, "I'm selling them." And went further into saying, "I have the rest of them in the bag."
Rookie officers Lucas Push and Brian Chen were first on scene. They heard 44-year-old Shirley Medina talking about selling the dogs. When they saw the bag, they called for backup, and Officer Glickman arrived.
I tried my best to open up the top of the bag, and this tiny little snout came through the top of the bag. Couldn't get the rest of it open, took my knife, cut the bag open, and that's when 5 other puppies came flooding out.
Medina was seen walking around the Dollar General before this happened. Chris Pimentel was on duty.
I turned my head. There's some woman just selling puppies out her purse for like $500, $600. I'm like, yo.
Saving these lives was a matter of intuition and timing. As dog lovers, these officers feel grateful they could intervene.
Our job is to serve and protect. And I feel like that day we protected the lives of the puppies.
The puppies are now with the ASPCA. The officers hope to adopt them, but despite the fact that they rescued them, they aren't given priority. The officers need to apply for adoption just like everybody else. But if they do get them, they say they already have names picked out.
Red for the Redfern houses. We have Pinson, which is the street right here, and Horton, which is this block right here. And then for the 3 female puppies, we have Sandy for the beach, being over here in Far Rockaway. We have Mona Lisa, which is the name of one of the witnesses that helped us find the puppies to begin with. And then we also have Faith, and that's the runt of the litter.
As for Shirley Medina, she was charged with torture of an animal and neglect of an animal. 1 count for each puppy that was inside of that bag, as well as criminal possession of a weapon for having brass knuckles inside that backpack. She was released on her own recognizance. In Far Rockaway, Queens, Teresa Priolo, Fox 5 News.
Ay. All right, well, elected officials and community members on Staten Island speaking out against a possible migrant shelter. The Faith United Methodist Church in Port Richmond has an agreement with the city to house 15 adult men seeking asylum in the U.S. The church set to begin housing those men starting tomorrow. Staten Island Borough President Vito Fossella among those opposing the migrant shelter.
Government
should be collectively trying to make things better for a community like Port Richmond, not try to hurt it or harm it. And by inviting and opening a migrant shelter potentially here, you're hurting this community and the people.
Councilwoman Camilla Hanks, a Staten Island Democrat, says the shelter will be managed by the Mayor's Office of Housing Recovery and will give the migrants meals, a bed, and a shower from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. every day. Well, an emotional day in court as two children come face to face with the man who killed their parents in a drunk driving crash. Fox 5's Jody Goldberg was there as he learned how much time he'll spend in prison.
Hugs can only do so much to help heal broken hearts as the Urania family that was once whole is now torn apart.
To Ismena and Odalis' loved ones here today with me, I am truly sorry for your loss.
Ismena and Odalis Urania were bright lights dimmed too soon due to selfishness, according to prosecutors who say Soterio Spanos didn't care about anyone but himself when he drove 100 miles per hour drunk last summer, killing the couple on their way home from a dinner date. The 34-year-old was sentenced to up to 21 years in prison during an emotional hearing on Monday morning.
Two children no longer have their mother and father because this defendant was drunk and reckless.
Inside the courtroom, relatives told the defendant that he destroyed their lives and robbed them of generous and loving people. The couple's 15-year-old daughter looked straight at Spanos, saying, "You took everything away from me, all the people I look up to and made me who I am today." The girls are now being raised by Ismenia's sister, Chris Mary Rodriguez.
The way myself and my siblings decided to raise our kids was as one. They're all siblings, not knowing that we were preparing them for this day.
As Rodriguez addressed the court, she held a lock of hair, saying the crash was so horrific. That hair was the only part of her sister that wasn't destroyed by the impact.
That piece of hair I shared in the courtroom was the only thing we have left.
Spanos looked at each relative as they spoke. He addressed the courtroom, saying there are no words in the English language to express how sorry I am. His attorney says his client struggles with addiction.
In 32 years of doing criminal defense, I don't think I've found somebody to be more remorseful and accepting of responsibility.
The judge expressed sympathy for Spanos' struggle, saying alcoholism is an addiction, but driving is not, and there were other choices he could have and should have made. While Spanos will one day get out of jail, the Urania family says they're the ones left with a life sentence. In Mineola, Long Island, Jody Goldberg, Fox 5 News.
Well, today marks 30 years since the police chase involving O.J. Simpson and his white Bronco. An estimated 95 million Americans watched that pursuit on TV. June 17th, 1994, Simpson sat in the back of the Bronco while his friend Al Cowlings was behind the wheel, leading police on a slow-moving chase throughout L.A. It ended when the Bronco pulled into Simpson's estate. And 27 SWAT team officers stood waiting. He was arrested and charged with the murder and the slayings of his ex-wife, Nicole, and her friend Ronald Goldman. Simpson, of course, died this year from prostate cancer at the age of 76. Well, 21 years old may be legal, but it does not mean you're mature. And now one restaurant's taking action to ensure a more grown-up environment, the magic ages for men and women that a Missouri restaurant has come up with if you want to enjoy an adult meal inside. And a fight caught on camera ending with a customer's car window smashed by a barista. Well, caught on camera, a barista fights back after a customer argues over the price of his drinks and then throws him right at her. Surveillance video shows a man in South Seattle get out of his car. Look at that. There you go. And throw not one but two drinks at the barista. She then retaliates by taking a hammer and smashing his windshield with one swing. The man later admitted he was wrong and ashamed of losing his temper and says he will be paying to fix his broken windshield himself. All right, well, that seemed to end well there. All right, do men and women reach maturity at different ages? One restaurant in Missouri certainly thinks so, banning men under 35 and women under 30. Fox 5's Sharon Crowley asked New Yorkers how they feel about this rule.
Bliss Restaurant just opened last month in St. Louis, Missouri. It's already generating national publicity, and it's not just because of the Caribbean-style food on the menu. You see, everyone is not welcome to dine here. The owner explaining why on Facebook. He said, quote, "To ensure a grown and sexy atmosphere, we require all guests to be 30 or older for women and 35 or older for men. This policy helps us maintain a sophisticated environment."
We just want to make sure we keep that vibe and that lux feel. You know, hopefully everyone that's over the age of 30 that's woman and 35ers, man, get a chance to visit and understand the culture that we're trying to create amongst ourselves as, older business professionals.
Marvin Paint owns Bliss.
Folks our age tends to want to go to places where they can actually relax and listen to some music that's more they shop from their age bracket.
Imposing age restrictions is not unprecedented. Last year, Nettie's Spaghetti House in Tinton Falls, New Jersey, stopped allowing children under 10. Owners said kids make a lot of noise and create a mess. Plus, high chairs take up a lot of space. We asked New Yorkers what they would think about going to a restaurant that only allows customers over the age of 30. They want a mature vibe.
Mature vibe. It's okay. Everyone should be in their place. I don't mind it. I think it's good.
I'm 22. I mean, I don't really appreciate that. I'd like it to be more fluid and everybody's involved. But, I mean, if older people want their own crowd, I guess it's pretty good.
You can't just have one age group in a restaurant. Don't make no sense.
I think it's really food for thought.
That's the way to put it, right? Food for thought. Well, I also asked the owner of Bliss how business was going, and he says so far so good. His hostesses card customers at the door, checking to make sure, Steve, if the customers are old enough to dine there. In the newsroom, I'm Sharon Crowley. I'll send it back to you.
I'd love to go anywhere and get carded. All right. I'm going to try to get a reservation. We can go head out to Missouri. Thanks, Sharon. All right. Well, the newest way to power homes and businesses sits 35 miles off the shore of Long Island. We'll take you to New York's first offshore wind farm. We'll take a look at how it works. Wind energy has been the subject of debate for many years. Here in New York, a project off the coast of Long Island is leading the country in the fight over clean energy. Fox 5's Liv Johnson tells us what this offshore wind farm is and how it works.
In the race against climate change, government agencies at the local, state, and federal level are searching for new ways to derive energy. And some of those new methods are actually mixing recent technology with an ancient concept, windmills. 35 miles off the coast of Montauk, invisible to any beachgoer on Long Island, these giant wind turbines are anchored in the ocean, powering tens of thousands of homes in East Hampton. So I'm here at Wainscott Beach with Kevin Hansen, and Kevin, you work with the company that developed the first major offshore wind farm off the coast of New York.
Yeah, that's correct, and it's actually the first large-scale offshore wind farm in the entire United States, so New York made history here.
Tell me about this project and what's behind it, what's gone into it.
So South Fork Wind is an offshore wind farm. Each offshore wind turbine has 3 blades, and those blades are spun by the wind, and that spinning uses magnets to create electricity. That electricity is then collected from each of the 12 turbines at an offshore substation and then sent to shore in an undersea electrical cable.
It's a project that took years to get off the ground and out to sea. Ørsted, the company behind South Fork Wind, was awarded a contract with the Long Island Power Authority in January of 2017. After a lengthy process of gathering permits, holding public forums, and securing government approval, construction began in 2022, and the turbines officially started spinning in March of 2024. Give us the details about where they're manufactured, how they're brought all the way out here.
These really large components are assembled at a port, and then vessels have to take those pieces out into the ocean and install them on foundations.
So you guys drilled under the beach, right where we're walking, to lie cables that connect the turbines to the power grid.
Yeah, we used a technique called horizontal directional drilling to drill deep underneath the beach, and then we pull the cable through a conduit pipe, and then it goes under the road and connects to a substation owned by the Long Island Power Authority a few miles from here.
And if you're wondering how these turbines are installed and maintained,
we have crews that live on what's called a service operations vessel, or a hotel boat, and they typically spend 2 weeks out at sea maintaining the turbines, and then they spend 2 weeks back at home.
All of these moving parts and years of construction in the name of New York's Climate Act, which was signed into law in 2019 and requires the state to achieve a 100% carbon-free electricity system by 2040. Doreen Harris is the president and CEO of NYSERDA, the New York State Research and Development Authority. She's one of the people who selected Ørsted's bid to construct South Fork Wind.
That project is representative of a first phase of a more significant build out across our state. I was extraordinarily proud that this is the first commercial scale offshore wind project in the U.S.
Ørsted has not made as much progress in other parts of our area. The company recently made headlines for settling a lawsuit with the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities after backing out of plans for 2 large offshore wind farms. They cited supply chain challenges and rising interest rates as the reason for pulling out. We talked to people in New Jersey who believe the canceled plans are for the best. Robin Schaefer is the president of Protect Our Coast New Jersey. Tell us some of your concerns, members of your organization's concerns with offshore wind turbines.
So right off the top, Protect Our Coast doesn't believe that the ocean should be exploited, mined, drilled, developed in any way. And we think that it's going to be disruptive to marine mammals of all types and could affect the amount of fish and shellfish in these waters.
Despite the concerns, Ørsted tells me,
we have protected species observers on board. We have monitoring plans that cause us to stop activity when certain conditions arise.
Ørsted is now moving forward with another project, this one called Sunrise Wind,
which will be completed in 2026, is even larger. So South Fork Wind can power about 70,000 homes. Sunrise Wind will be able to power about 600,000 homes, and that electricity will be injected into the town of Brookhaven.
What do you think is the future of offshore wind farming in the U.S.?
I think 2024 is the year that offshore wind is really taking off. So I think you'll see more and more offshore wind farms as part of America's clean energy mix.
It's an amazing feat of engineering, no doubt about it. Enjoying Liv, Mike, Audrey, and Nick as they explore what we can expect for the summer ahead. Weather Extremes, the Fox 5 special airs at 10:30 this Wednesday night right here on Fox 5. All right, time now for Nick to join us with the weather. And Weather Extremes certainly going to be the theme for the next 5 days or so.
Yes, you'll see on that program my forecast for the summer, and it's actually going to collide with what we're talking about this week. We're talking about, again, some 90-degree-plus days, and we're going to have a lot of them as we go through this week. Not a bad evening out there now, still moderately comfortable, but look at the jet stream pattern this week. This is through tomorrow, but we're going to go beyond this big ridge setting up here in the eastern part of the country, so the heat will sort of get trapped in here and get spread to the east coast. In the meantime, they're going to be having a snowstorm with the cold air coming into the Pacific Northwest and moving into the northern Rockies. All right, you can already see again some of the temperatures here in the 90s today. Green Bay, Wisconsin at 90. Chicago 97. Mid-90s to Nashville, low 90s to Atlanta, almost 90 in Miami, pretty much 90 for the Carolina coastline there. Texas up to Kansas. Denver 99 today. And then it turns colder again as you get off to the northwest. In the meantime, closer to home, again, highs made it into the mid-90s from Detroit down to Pittsburgh, low 90s Washington, D.C., mostly 80s here in the northeast. And again, the closer in view shows 83 for the city, 92 at Newark. Stayed in the 70s on Long Island, upper 80s inland, though, toward North Jersey and the Hudson Valley. We'll again see those temperatures ramp up tomorrow. Excessive heat watch, that's for most of New Jersey. That's going to go till Saturday. In the meantime, the rest of the area has a heat advisory, not yet including New York City. That's likely to change, though, as we go through the next couple of days. And we have an air quality alert. That does include New York City, Hudson Valley, most of New Jersey into western Connecticut. That's going to go through tomorrow night, but it's probably going to be extended. All right, 83.65 today. Again, the average should be around 80. We'll be doing much better than that, much higher than that. We'll start see if we get some records in here as the week goes along. Today's record high was 96, currently 77. We do have some clouds out there, and the wind mostly out of the south. Humidity's up a little bit, dew point mid-60s, pressure 30-16 and steady. And again, the temps holding around 70 at White Plains, low 70s, southern Connecticut coast here. Still 80 at Newark at this hour, also back to Scranton. And again, a temperature gain of as much as 8 to 14 degrees across the area, depending upon where you're located. Wind out of the south, that will continue tonight into tomorrow, about 10 to 15 miles an hour. That will start ramping up the humidity a little bit as well. But all these showers and thunder showers that we've seen off to the northwest, notice they're falling apart, and they're not going to be coming our way because we're going to be watching that big ridge kind of block that moisture from coming towards us. So you'll see in our future cast, again, we're pretty much quiet tonight, tomorrow, and on and towards Wednesday. All right, let's go and take a look at what we have as far as temperatures go here. Let's see if our graphics will go on. Our highs, nah, I guess it's not going to do it. All right, let's go on and see if we have our forecast for tonight and on into tomorrow. Again, we'll look for temperatures to hold pretty much in the 70s, low 90s tomorrow, humid, 93 on Wednesday. Summer comes in on Thursday, 95. Hot Friday, 98. Afternoon storms Saturday. We're still in the 90s into Sunday. And storms may return again by later Monday. Steve?
That's a wild 7-day. All right, thanks, Nick. Well, a parade of boats rehearsing the Olympic opening ceremony on the Seine, but an unwelcome bacteria still lurking in the water for swimmers. Inside Out 2, a huge hit at the box office.
Who made the console orange?
Do I look orange?
I didn't touch it.
Orange is not my color.
Not me.
Hello? Ah! Oh my gosh, I'm anxiety.
All right, the animated sequel earning $155 million in its opening weekend. That makes it the second highest opening in Pixar's 29-year history and the second biggest animated debut ever. Only 2018's Incredibles 2 made more in its first weekend. Bad Boys Ride or Die was second with $33 million. Kingdom of the Planet of Apes was third with just over $5 million. Well, the Paris Olympics begin in 39 days. The opening ceremony for the Paris Games will be held on the River Seine, but unsafe levels of E. coli have been found following heavy rain and could jeopardize some swimming events scheduled to take place. Meanwhile, the opening ceremony will be historic because for the first time ever, instead of marching into a stadium, athletes will arrive by boat. Organizers say dress rehearsals are going well. The opening ceremonies for the Paris Olympics are July 26th. And there's more of the 10 o'clock news straight ahead, including a final look at the forecast. All right, let's get a final check on the weather. Nick, it is about to get real hot around here.
It certainly is. And overnight, we'll start seeing the humidity rise a little bit, too. Upper 60s north and west, low 70s in town out the door. Mid to upper 60s along the coast. Tomorrow, again, we begin our heat wave as temperatures climb up to 91 in the city, low 90s to a couple of mid 90s moving inland, closer to 80. Again, as you get along the coast, we'll have a good amount of sunshine, and it'll be 90s from now into the upcoming weekend.
All right, that does it. Thanks, Nick. And if you missed any part of the 10 o'clock news, you can always catch an encore coming up in just moments at 11 on our free streaming app, Fox Local. Just search Fox Local on your preferred streaming platform. Have a great night.